it's Brittany. So I decided as a mental health advocate, talk host of Rise Above radio station, God's daughter, and also local author, I wanted to come on here today to share some of my experiences, right? So how does one person actually have a story to tell in the first place, right? It's when they go through some tough things and come out stronger on the other side. So today what I'd like to talk to you about is narcissistic personality disorder. So amongst my journey of life, obviously, I have interacted with a few people that I personally thought I could trust. And right, so when we're trying to get to know somebody or, to see who they are as a person, right, the only way to really know that of a person is to actually hang out with them, talk with them. And so amongst my most recent interaction with a particular individual led me to do some research. And when I did that research, I then started pinpointing certain personality traits that I have learned along the way of writing about mental illness and trauma that happens in families and how it affects each person in the family line. And so regarding this particular individual that I had an interaction with, it come to my realization, I started, kind of looking inward, thinking that it was me, that it was my fault, that, it was who I was that was not, or was the problem. It was just so much inward stuff that was really just eating me alive and crushing my soul. And so amongst figuring out and putting the puzzle together, because I figure things out one way or another, and I'm grateful to have that skill. But I wanted to talk about narcissistic personality disorder. So it, of course, stemmed from my most recent interaction with somebody. And so for those that do not know what narcissistic personality disorder, of course, it's easy to look it up on Google or YouTube or, consult with a medical professional. But for those that are not aware and do come involved with somebody of a love interest, can be very difficult to decipher the different traits, especially if you don't have a background in mental health or have an understanding of trauma and what it does to the brain and the behavior of a person. So what I would like to express here is that with a narcissistic person, of course, what we can understand is that they have a history of trauma. Perhaps they had a mother or father that did not give them love, and so they developed these traits based on that. So, of course, an empathetic person would obviously involve themselves and try to fix this person and feel bad for this person because, of course, an empathetic person understands what pain feels like and tries their best so that others wouldn't feel the same pain or feel pain at all. So, but unfortunately, just a little tip, I don't think anybody goes through this life without experiencing a little pain. But what I want to say is that, of course, having a background or an understanding of where this narcissistic personality disorder even comes from. But then we learn that as an adult, they develop these traits that are either one, they don't are unable to relate with you. They're not sympathetic to your feelings. They give you expensive gifts or in that area to make up for their lack of true affection. No matter what you do, it can be the best thing in the world, the best thing, and it will never be good enough. So you can keep giving and giving and giving and giving until there's nothing left to give except your soul. And at that point, you're dead. And so the fact that you can keep giving and giving and giving, and it will never be good enough, and they will claim that you never did anything for them. So, and when they realize that you want to fix them, they then start targeting your weak spots. And they start to learn what your fears, your phobias, and your possessions are, so they can use them against you. And when you realize, or when they realize, I should say, that you have boundaries and they want to get over those boundaries, they will find those weak spots in you that will, if you're not aware of it, that will basically tear down those boundaries as they're attacking your weak spots. So before you even know it, you're stuck in this spiritual warfare with this person that is not only taking advantage of you emotionally, but now they're taking advantage of you spiritually. And then you start questioning yourself. You start questioning the icky feeling that you feel inside. And you start to wonder how you could have been different, or what you did to make this person this such way. But it's really, all in all, nothing you did other than not stand up for yourself. These people with narcissistic personality disorder have a fragile self-worth. And of course, that stems from their childhood, unfortunately. So what I would suggest that for women especially, because I advocate for mental health, but I also want to strongly advocate for women, that you become more aware of the traits within the person that you're, relating with or having a relationship with, that you start to become more aware and start really researching, what I would suggest. And, I know from experience, a man does not like when you research on them. But if you know of their friends, or know of someone that they were in a relationship with in the past, that you start making those connections, because a narcissist wears many masks. And it's really important, when you start noticing these traits, that you reach out to these people that personally know them, as much as that might be a little stalkerish. I feel as though it will benefit you in the long run and save you years and years and years of a headache. It's not to say that we can't feel bad for these individuals, because I do think personally that it is unfortunate that they experience such neglect or trauma in their childhood that caused them to develop these internal demons. But unfortunately, we can't exactly fix them. And when we try to fix them, it becomes even worse. They become rageful. They become angry. They start attacking your self-esteem. They start, of course, putting you down, which is part of your self-esteem. And it just becomes very codependent and very trauma bonding, which is not a good thing. It, for a woman especially, who seeks security and seeks respect and love and affection and that emotional security, you're not going to get that with a narcissistic person, unfortunately. So, when I think of relationships, I think of it as being able to, relate with one another on a spiritual, healthy balance. So, for example, a man loves, loves to be respected. They love intimacy and all of that. But then again, when you're with a woman who is a very emotional being, it's kind of like, I think of a man who wants and wants and wants and wants and needs and needs and needs and needs and needs, but then completely ignores the wants and needs of the woman. So in order to create that healthy balance, and I'm not a relationship coach, but I think that when I've had a lot of experience to understand that what feels unleveled for sure. So I think that, spiritually, and as we're all energy really, is that we come together on a medium level. So, example, like you notice that your girlfriend rather had a long day at work, and you would love to cuddle up on the couch and just spend time together. Well, maybe she needs some time to just relax in a bathtub, so you get a bath ready for her with some candles, and then you get what you want. So I think that on a mutual respectful energetic level of a relationship, I think is so important when we're seeking out, commitment or a spouse or companion, So I just wanted to kind of share that with you, and that I think it's really a good thing when we're kind of doing a self inventory of our own traumas, and how generational trauma has an effect on the family line and how it gets passed down. So that way there is someone in the family line that can break the chain of trauma. And, it's not an easy path for sure, but I think when you become more aware and self-aware, that you can recognize where your behaviors come from, that you can start to do something about it and start creating boundaries within yourself and with other people, to be able to have a healthy relationship with friends, family, spouses, etc. So I just wanted to come on and share that piece with you about narcissistic personality disorder. There is so much more to narcissistic personality disorder that I would suggest, reading about, so that way you are able to take back your soul before it gets, into the hands of someone who is narcissistic. Because there are so many women that I have, started to recognize in my journey of life that get stuck in these narcissistic relationships. And you lose your soul through it all. You lose who you are as a person. You lose your joy. You lose your passion. You lose pretty much everything in the hands of someone who is narcissistic. And I just say, save the years and start healing and start learning to love yourself, and start, even if it's uncomfortable to be alone or uncomfortable, to be away from that narcissistic spouse or relationship, because you became trauma bonded, codependent on it. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like unnatural. You're going to kind of question your sanity, your place in the world. But I think in all, that it's actually worth it to kind of detach yourself from that, because unfortunately narcissists, they don't like to recognize that about themselves. It's really something that I'm not sure that they would even be empathetic or understanding to even educate themselves about that type of personality disorder. Because if you have ever been in a relationship with somebody who's narcissistic, it's like a child, going back and forth. No, she did it. No, he did it. No, she did it. And it's like denial, devaluing, is another thing that narcissistic people do, is they devalue the situation or you. And it becomes questioning your own sanity. Did that really happen? Did that not? Did this? Did that? Did this? And it becomes very confusing. And the best way I could explain it for somebody who has dealt with narcissistic people is that you feel like you're a puppet, especially when they realize your weak spots. They know how to trigger you. They know where to stick their finger into your wound, and basically trigger you, cause a reaction, because they are so fragile in their self-worth that they feed off that stuff. So my best advice would be, as best as you could, to detach yourself from those situations and those people, and to create those boundaries, and to stick with them, as hard as it might be. So also, I'd like to just share a song with you that I did find to be very previous to this topic. And if you haven't listened to Alanis Morissette, Narcissist, she actually created a song, and I think it's just perfect. So let me get that up for you, and I'll end it with that.
Dear mama's boy, I know you had your butt beat by your mother. I know you enjoyed all that attention from her, and every woman goes with your presence after. Dear narcissist boy, I know you've never really apologized for anything. I know you've never really taken responsibility. I know you've never really listened to a woman. Dear macho boy, I know you're not really into conflict resolution, or seeing both sides of every equation, or having uninterrupted conversation. And any talk of healthiness, and any talk of connectedness, and any talk of resolving this needs you running for the door. Why do I try to love you? Try to love you when you really don't want me to. Why do I try to love you? Try to love you when you really don't want me to. Dear egotist boy, you never really had to suffer any consequence. You never stayed with anyone longer than 10 minutes. You never understand that you want your resistance. Dear popular boy, I know you're used to getting everything so easily. Let's get rid of the concept of reciprocity. People on our lives like you and in society. And any talk of selflessness, and any talk of working at this, and any talk of being of service leaves you running for the door. Why do I try to help you? Try to help me when you really don't want me to. Why do I try to help you? Try to help me when you really don't want me to.
All right, so I just wanted to share that song with you. Again, that's Alanis Morissette, Narcissist. So anyways, for more that you would like to check out, I do have a website, which is beldridge18.wixsite.com/healingthelight. I will put more, I will put the actual link rather in the comments section below, so you'll actually be able to check it out there. I am a local author of New Hampshire, mental health advocate, talk host of my own radio station called Rise Above, which is 24/7, by the way, and I'll put that in the comments section below. So if you want to check that out, there's many interviews on there with best-selling authors, spiritual leaders, others that have suffered through mental illness, as well as some music creators on there too, that have written songs about, for example, anxiety. So check it out there. And I'm always open for, volunteers that do want to come on to Rise Above to be interviewed. And what I will do is I will leave you with a poem that I wrote about, a narcissistic man. And, I feel as though creating and also, writing has definitely helped kind of, express the internal pain that goes on inside. So this poem I wrote is called Mr. Devil. Blinded by fake Mr. Knight definitely wasn't Mr. Right. He was darkness in the light. Persuaded by the devil, comparing tallies to reach the next level. The evil only try to win your heart, squeeze it to death, and laugh when you fall apart. Never trust a man with a twinkle in his eye. He will leave you in the desert to cry. You can die trying to be his only one, but all you really were was a little fun. Live with the fact he'll feel no remorse. Hopefully someday he finds God as his source. In the dust, he'll leave you with a one-worded text while he's on to the next. Wash off the harm that was caused to your soul. In time, he'll step in his own game hole. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thanks so much for stopping by, for checking out my blog on narcissistic personality disorder. Again, my name is Brittany Eldridge, and it's a pleasure to be able to share my experiences and also my wisdom with others. And thanks so much for stopping by.